Hey guys, welcome to the second last lesson in the modeling linear relationships. The next lesson will be exam questions, so this is the last content-based lesson. Okay, so this is pretty much the same as the last lesson, to be honest. They are all applied questions, however, they are aimed at break-even analysis. So what does break-even analysis mean? So what's going to happen, you're going to be given a graph of the first quadrant, and there'll be things such as like the number of stuff or whatever it's going to be, and then it's going to be the cost of stuff in money. And what's going to happen, you're going to be given two graphs. For example, you're going to give a graph for income. You're going to be given a graph for costs. And what's going to happen, you'll see that, when you don't sell anything, so let's say, for example, you're selling a number of cars. At 0 cars, you will have some type of startup cost. That's going to happen there to start off with. Your y-intercept basically becomes what we call your startup cost, and you can be asked that. But there'll be a point where your income becomes exactly the same as what it costs to run your business. And that point of intersection between those two graphs, where income is equal to costs, is very important, because that's what we refer to as the break-even point. It's the point at which basically you're not making any money, but you're not losing any money either. Obviously, after that point, income is greater than costs. Therefore, what happens there, the difference between income and costs becomes what we refer to as your profit. Okay. Obviously, before that, if you do income minus costs, you're going to have a negative number, which means you're losing money. Okay. So let's have a look at some questions of what they're going to ask us. The graph below shows the cost of producing bottles of wine and the income received from their sale. Part A, use the graph to determine the number of bottles that needs to be sold to break even. Okay, we just mentioned that when costs are equal to income, that is where my business breaks even. If I go down here, we can see that it would be breaking even at 5 bottles. Okay, nice and easy. Part B, write an equation to describe the relationship between income and the number of bottles. Well, basically what that is asking me to do is to come up with an equation for income. Now we know that the graph is usually y equals mx plus b, where I need to find a value for the gradient and a value for the y-intercept. Thankfully, the y-intercept for income is in fact 0, so that's nice and easy. But my gradient comes from, once again, doing our rise over the run. So I'm going to look at this graph. I'm going to find a couple of nice points that are on my line. That's probably an easy one to use. I'm going to use that one. That's going to be nice and easy, isn't it? Okay, it goes 0, 0. So that's my right angle triangle. My rise is 100. My run is 5. Therefore, my gradient is 100 divided by 5, which is going to equal to 20. So I'm going to come up there, and I need to have a letter for the x-axis. I'm going to put n for the number of bottles. You could put b, I guess, if you wished. I'm going to have I is equal to 20n plus 0. But once again, you don't need to put the plus 0 there, so I'm going to put that there. Now we're going to double check to make sure that works out. For example, when I equals, let's say, let's say 10, for example. 20 times 10 is 200. Go across, that's 200. Bingo, it works out. Nice one. C, write an equation to describe the relationship between the cost and the number of bottles. Okay, so this time we're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be cost is equal to. So it's kind of like your simultaneous equations, except last time we were given the equations and we were trying to find or draw the graphs. This time we're given the graphs, we're trying to find the equations. Same sort of thing. I'm going to do my y equals mx plus b. My b is nice and easy in this one as well. B is equal to 50. I can see there, that's nice and easy. If I want to draw my triangle, I'm actually going to draw my triangle right there, which it goes up 50 in that case. So my gradient is rise of 50 over a run of 5, which gives me a gradient of 10. Again, you could have chosen different points, but that's what I'm going to choose. So I'm going to come back and put C equals 10n plus 50 And then we have our equation for the cost. Again, you could go through and try to find another point that lies in the line, for example, at 10. 10 times 10 is 100 plus 50 is 150. Go across there. Look, that's correct. Job done. Alrighty, next question. The graph below shows the cost of producing boxes of chocolates and the income received from the sale. Part A, use the graph to determine the number of boxes that need to be sold to break even. Once again, my break even point, where costs equals income, that is 2 boxes. Alrighty. Next question. How much profit or loss is made when 3 boxes are sold? Well, 3 boxes goes up to here. So basically, we're doing our profit, we know, is our income minus the cost. It's basically the difference between these two lines, which is 2 boxes. So if I look, each box is 5, I can say that's going to simply be an income of $10. Alternatively, you could say it's $45, take away $35 equals $10, but certainly that's a bit quicker looking at the difference between the two lines. Part C, how much profit or loss is made when 3 boxes are sold? Sorry, when 1 box is sold. So I've got 1 box here. Once again, if I look at the difference between them, I can say it's going to be a loss of $10. Otherwise, I could say, well, my income is going to be 15, take away the costs of 25, which equals negative $10, which is a loss of $10. D, what are my initial costs? Well, my initial costs are what happens when I sell nothing, my very first part, which is 0 boxes, which is 20. So my initial costs are $20. They can also say, what does the y-intercept represent? It represents the initial costs. Alrighty. Last question, and probably the hardest. Lara and Anna earn a salary of L and A respectively. Okay. Lara earns $10,000 more than Anna. Write an equation to represent this information. So Lara earns $10,000 more than Anna. There we go. That's a nice little equation that I've got there. Okay. B. The total of Lara's salary and Anna's salary is $150,000. So L plus A equals $150,000. Alrighty. That's the next one done. Now, I have said previously, remember that it's probably not a bad idea to put them both equal to the same thing. So I'm going to put minus A plus 150,000. Remember, I probably put the minus A first because that's in the form of y equals mx plus b. But certainly you could have 150,000 take away A as well. That's just going to help me for probably the next part. C says draw a graph of the 2 equations on the same number plane. Use A, $1,000 as the horizontal, which is our x. That works out perfectly because that's there. And L is $1,000 as the vertical axis, which is our y-axis there, and then hence find the intersection of the 2 points to find the salaries. So for the first one, I'm going to do this in green. This is my table of values, so my x and y, so A and L. Now it says to go up, I'll have it by $1,000. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with 0 here. And then I'm going to put 10 for $10,000, 20 for $20,000, 30 for $30,000, 40 for $40,000, 50 for $50,000, etc. Now be careful here, because I've put these as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and not as 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, then instead of doing plus 10,000, I'm going to be doing plus 10. Okay, so here it's going to be 0 plus 10,000 is just 10,000, 10 plus 10 is 20,000, 20 plus 10 is 30,000, 30 plus 10 is 40,000, 40 plus 10 is 50,000, and 50 plus 10 is 60,000. I probably might need to have a few extras there, because remember they add up to give 150,000, so I might just do 60,000 and 70,000. 70,000, 80,000, and that way you can see already that's where you're going to come up with your 150,000. Okay, so I'm going to guess that's going to be where my point's going to be. In purple, I'm going to put in my coordinates for the second graph. So I've got my A and my L. Now, what we're going to have here is a y-intercept of 150 or 15,000. So this time what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to go up by, I was going to say maybe go up by 20,000 each time, because I'm going to need to have a y-intercept of 150,000. So I'm going to do 0, then 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, so 150. Okay. There we go. So now I'm going to put my values there. They're probably more than I wanted to have. But I'm going to be simply taking away A from 150,000. So that's going to be 150. That's going to be 130. That's going to be 40 is going to be 110. 60 will be 90. That's going to be 70, 50, 30, and 10. Okay, I just fixed up my graph there. Apologies. Okay, so again, look, if I was doing this exam, I'd be probably going up by 10, 20, 30, 40, so we're going up to 15. It's just I didn't have enough room there. I didn't want to do that 15 times. Okay, so once I've got that, I'm going to draw my graph here as you've got it there. I would assume you're going up by 10s, but I'm going to go up by 20s for my y-axis, so go up to 150. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. I'm going to 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Remember, that is A, and that's in thousands. Okay. So I need to actually go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. And then my x-axis there, I'm going to go up to, again, 160. So 10, I'm just going up by 20s, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. Again, I know that 160 is not possible for this function, so that's okay. I'm still going to put it in there. And again, I'm just doing this, folks, because I don't have much room. Certainly you should have a bit more room. You might go up by 10s. Okay, so it's asking us to graph them. Okay, so my first one, I'm going to do that in, I'll do it in green. So we've got 0 and 10. So it's going to be sort of around about there. Then I've got, I'm going to do 20 and 30. I'm going to do 40 and 50. You can see I'm only doing every second one. That's okay. 60 and 70. Now, as long as yours is accurate, folks, you only have to plot a couple of them and then use your ruler, and that gives me my first one, which is L equals A plus 10,000. Then the next one I'm going to be doing in purple. So I'm going to plot the points. So 0, 150, so that goes there. Then we've got 20 and 130. We've got 40 and 110. We've got 60 and 90. $70 and 80 would go about there. I'm just going to access my point of intersection. We've got 80 and 70, which goes about there. And again, you can see that's not very great. Again, guys, yours should be nice and accurate. That's a little bit better. And whatever that's going to be. Again, mine's not 100% accurate there, folks. So I'm pretty sure that should go at 150. So I might just modify that so it does finish off that point there. Okay, nearly just get it there. L equals negative A plus 150,000. All right, so again, guys, yours should be fairly more accurate than mine, but that's pretty much about it, okay? Now, my point of intersection is right there, which comes for $70,000 and $80,000. I just need to make sure I put my the number here correctly. That was my L in $1,000. So I can see that L equals 70,000 and I've got A equals 80,000, and that's probably answered my part for D. So it says use the intersection of the graph to find Lara's and Anna's salary, and I've answered the question there. So look, that's again, it's a bit of a complicated sort of scenario, that last one. Most of the time the graphs will be probably pre-drawn for you, or at least a setup will be drawn for you, and it's just a matter of filling in the table of values and your values, and then interpreting the actual point of intersection as your break-even point. Okay. Look, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Just remember the couple of things. Particularly your point of intersection for income and costs will be your break-even point, and your startup costs will be your y-intercept. Very important. Alrighty, have an awesome day, folks. Any questions, please shoot through some emails, but do some exam questions, and certainly the next lesson will be HSC questions. Have an awesome day.